heated one. And James, you knew
You're getting passionate there, bro. Yeah.
He baited me, and he knew it was coming.
It's so easy to push your buttons, dude.
God.
I know exactly what's going to piss you off.
As soon as you said that, because I fucking hate it when people say that. Like, oh, you guys play? Oh, you play on Saturday?
Peasant we.
The royal we. Oh, God, dude. I hate that. Like, yeah. When my father used to say it all the time, like, oh, hey, like, oh, we're going to do this. Like, we're going to mow the lawn. And I was like we? He's like, no, the royal we. Get your fucking ass out there.
Welcome, everyone, to the most ill-conceived business podcast around, the Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me are two men with no athletic bones in their body, Jared Gibson and John Sorakis.
Thanks, James.
I peaked in high school.
Jared, you did play college baseball, right? I didn't invent that. So you actually do have. No, you didn't know.
No, I
almost did.
I did. There's a story behind there.
How about kickball?
I was going to play college baseball, but I did not.
Yeah,
Kickball?
Jared is,
no.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in episode 33. I'm not sure we're going to title this because I'm not really sure what the takes and how they're going to come out, but we are finally talking about something that Jared really, really, really wanted to talk about: sports. So college sports specifically. We're going to talk about NIL. We're going to talk about rev share. We're going to talk about all the business aspects of these things.
Jockstraps.
Yeah, I did a lot of preparation for this, and I would say I know far more than the average person, but not someone who's an insider. Jared has a lot of opinions. We did not screen. I have no idea what his opinions are. We're just going to find this out live, and we're going to see if we agree or not on some of this stuff. So, Jared, I'm going to kick it over to you. You finally got your wish of talking about sports in our podcast. Go for it.
Yeah, so I am definitely not an expert in this. I am just a fan that sees all this stuff and it affects me. Some of this stuff does. So wanted to talk about this because I think everyone is talking about NIL right now, right? And almost nobody actually understands, or a lot of people don't understand what they're actually talking about. So I think we want to just kind of lay it out here in this episode. They're throwing around NIL like it's the whole system, right? And it's not. You've got NIL, which is outside money like boosters, brands, collectives, and then you've got the revenue sharing component, which is the school actually paying the players now, and that's the most recent thing. That's
two different things, which I think most people are completely unaware. It's two separate things, different. Two separate cases that were settled. Anyways, continue.
Yep, and they're happening at the same time. I think the NIL started back in 2021, maybe something along that line, where I'm brain farting now, but it stemmed from like an old UCLA player. Why can't I think of his name right now? Back in the
versus Alston, and it was a Supreme Court case. So anytime I hear someone say like something has to be done about this, I'm always like, something was done about this. The fucking Supreme Court ruled on it. There is no change that's going to happen here. Like, this is the fucking law. Continue.
Yes. So the part that I think is really interesting is where it actually matters is the change, like how much it's changed, like recruiting. Like before, it was about selling the dream, selling the program. Like, I'm going to take your kid and I'm going to turn your kid into an adult. He's going to become a man or a woman, come into the school. Like, big schools could stack talent, and guys would sit for 2 to 3 years in some cases, and everybody just kind of accepted that is the norm. Like, your chance will come. And like, you back then, like, you could transfer, but you had to sit out a year. Right, that was the rules. Like, if you wanted to transfer, you were going to lose a year and you'd have to sit out. Now it's like sitting is going to cost you money. So players are thinking like, where can I play and where can I get paid like today, right now? And what I think that's done is kind of flip the whole system. So it's not about like who can sell anymore and talk about how great their program is. Like, I'm biased because I went to Ohio State. That doesn't matter as much anymore. Like, it's about like who can actually evaluate talent and not waste money. That's why you start to see these colleges like Stanford, perfect example. They have a GM now, a sports GM. And I think it's Andrew Luck who's their GM now. Yeah. He's the guy that's going out and evaluating talent. So the problem is that a lot of these schools are still operating like it's the old system. They're just throwing money at big names without realizing once you pay a guy, you're pretty much stuck with that person. So we've got this weird kind of mix right now of like professional money with amateur structure and nobody really knowing how to run it. And my overall stance on this is that I think that it's ultimately a good thing for college sports. But the issue is that they opened up Pandora's box and they have no fucking clue how to wrangle some of this stuff back in and set it up so it makes more sense. So that's kind of what we're going to dig into today in detail.
Two things, and John, feel free to jump in anytime.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. I want to drop something. You said GM. Everyone's got a GM. In fact, the number one GM in the country, according to Football Scoop,
here it is.
The winner of the general manager. So the reason why I know a lot about this stuff because my best friend growing up has been in college football for 20 years now. So Matt Wilson, he's been listening to the podcast. Shout out. He's the assistant athletic director for player personnel at the national champion Indiana University.
It's so weird. I'm sorry. We're going to time out really quick.
I know.
It is still so weird to hear Indiana is the national champion in football. It just blows my mind.
They blew the shit out of your Ohio State Buckeyes. That was like the highlight of the season.
They didn't blow the shit. They did not blow the shit out of Ohio State. It was
you got fucking
separate conversation.
So anyway, long story short, my best buddy, he works in the center. He's in charge of Indiana's recruiting, and which includes their portal and their high school recruiting, and that ties into NIL and rev sharing. Like he won an award for it. He'll be the first one there's a whole team there, people that do it. Coach Signetti's he's a recruiter at heart. So it's not all, it's a ton of people there kind of working on this stuff. But I've been talking to my buddy Matt for years about the challenges of college football recruiting and whatnot. So I just kind of know a lot about it from hearing the stories he's told me. But as all this, the past 6 or 7 years at the lead up to the NIL, hearing from him firsthand, how these things have changed. And a lot of the stuff that Jared said earlier is very true. It's a different job now than it was, 6 years ago or whatever, in terms of, and some schools have really struggled in terms of figuring that. That's why Indiana was there's some schools have figured out that it's a different game now than it was before in terms of how you have to evaluate talent. And some schools are still pretending it's the old days and whatnot. And I think fans get frustrated because maybe their team's run by a bunch of idiots. I don't know. That's the best way I have of explaining it. They think they should still be relevant when they're not, but we can get into that more. I only want to sidetrack for 1 second though. Before the NIL, because I don't think people realized how bad things were. People were not aware that student athletes had less rights than anyone else on campus. If you're a music major, you could go out to the bars and play a set and make extra cash on the side. You know what I mean? If you're an art major, if you were whatever, if you were a student athlete, you were not allowed to do a fucking thing to make money on the side, because they saw that as you were using your status to whatever. So there were actually multiple cases. And
dude, that's so brutal. That's slavery.
Yeah. Literally, this is what happened in the Supreme Court case. Is I think it was Justice Kavanaugh came out and said this would not be
Ed O'Bannon. Sorry, just brain came to my brain. It's Ed O'Bannon.
This would not be legal anywhere else. You know what I mean? There's no way that. But there was 2 examples. So there was that he's Donald Delahaye. So he was a kicker at UCF who needed money because he's not from the States. I think he had to send money back home or something like that. He started a YouTube channel. Wasn't even about. He's still relevant now. He's doing stuff in sports, but he started a YouTube channel at the time. Wasn't even about sports. It was a day in life thing, and just had it really popular. He was making $50K or something like that. But money he was sending back home. They told him it was he'd be ineligible to play because he was running a YouTube channel. That had nothing to do
if he worked at Chick-fil-A, it wouldn't have been an issue?
Yes. And anybody else who had the same amount of followers he had doing the same thing he was doing wouldn't have been an issue, but it was only an issue because he quit football to just become a full-time YouTuber. But that's the whole it's not even that. You're and the other example, I guess the flip side example is the kind of more positive one, because it's happened is you guys might know who Livy Dunn is. She's the most successful NIL person. She was in school before.
Wife of? Who's she the wife of?
I don't know.
Her girlfriend, maybe?
All these people that closely.
Paul Skeens, best pitcher in baseball. Come on. Gotta know this stuff.
Anyways.
For the Pittsburgh Pirates, for your Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nah, I'm a Cubs fan. Anyways. She had this massive following before NIL, and then as soon as NIL passes, all of a sudden she's just fucking printing money, right? Because she would have not been eligible. She could have become a millionaire just doing NILs, just doing the YouTube stuff, but then she wouldn't be allowed to do college sports anymore. Like, it's stupid. It was always stupid. And the idea that, like, you're not allowed to, like, have a side gig or side hustle because you're a college athlete, like, you can't have a second. You're people who are generating money for your university aren't allowed to have their own name, image, and likeness rights, which is what that stuff means. You know what I mean? So just someone telling you, Jared, you're not allowed to, like, make money off LinkedIn because some fucking reason. It's like, it's the most anti-capitalist, un-American thing possible. So, like, I got a few examples. I have to throw that out there to people realize, because people who complain about NIL, like, do you realize what the alternative is? Is that you've got kids on campus that, like, the school's allowed to make money off their name, but they're not, is fucked up. Anyways.
The NIL, though, sounds like OnlyFans for sports now.
I mean, it could be, you could be a college quarterback and you could be running your camp on the side or something like that for high school kids. Like, there's a million ways, like, you can use your own name, image, and likeness to
I mean,
but social media is probably
easier. Though, is this going to homogenize, like, college sports?
How do you mean?
So it sounds like the benefit was the big brands of, like Ohio State or Pitt or so on and so forth, UM. But now, like, that, anybody can, get players to go to another school. All it just depends on the capital that they can get, or like some solid alumni that donates money, and then you can literally build a program overnight by pulling the right players.
Yeah. Well, this is 100%. What Jared and I want to talk about, but it's how should I say it?
Before we head down that path, though,
the nerds have
I got some more
over.
Examples. Yes,
okay,
I knew you were going to go with the nerd example again at some point. There's a few examples that I have of pre all of this. There's plenty of stories of literally an assistant coach paying for a kid's lunch at McDonald's. Yeah. And then it getting out and them having to self-report that happened. Or, at Ohio State, there was, I'm going to use this as an example. The big story that was back in the mid 2000, like around 2010ish, maybe no, before that, probably 2000, probably 2005 ish. At some point,
who was the player?
There was a story where Terrell Pryor. So Terrell Pryor was, so they had, when Ohio State beats Michigan, each player gets these gold pants, right? There's just like a pin, and it's like a thing that they do. Well, some players were selling their gold pants, and some players were trading signatures for tattoos, right? Which is whatever. Yeah. It was a massive, massive story where Ohio State had the hammer put down on them and for suspensions laid out for free tattoos. And Jim Tressel, it ultimately cost him the job at Ohio State because he stuck up for his players and, in essence, kind of lied during the investigation because he was sticking up for his players and ended up getting fired.
Well, they didn't get tattoos.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's had he told the truth, it would have been. But yeah, it's stupid. It shouldn't have even gotten.
But it's funny. Like, now you look back on that and just be like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
well, it's like I know you hate this guy because he screwed your pro team over. But the Johnny Manziel that whole era, people who look back on Johnny Manziel, like, you probably think like, hey, what crimes did he didn't commit any crimes. Like, he violated NCAA rules that are all legal now. You know what I mean? So it's just like cocaine. We look back at. Well, yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of crimes that he committed.
Right? Jesus, not the crimes that got him in trouble with NCAA. Anyways, all right. So
Ed Orgeron had the best quote. Ed Orgeron, former LSU coach, had the best quote. I think that sums up what this episode is going to be about. It is, back in the day, we used to take the bag to the back door. Now we can just walk it in the front door and give it to the players.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay, let's get back to maybe the core of what you want to talk about, and how recruiting has changed and how team formation has changed, and everything else. So continue. Didn't mean to derail us there.
Yes. So I think that John brought up John, you said something that I wanted to follow up on, and that kind of segues in at the example of the players, NIL, and just like big corporate sponsors or big donors that could completely change the way the programs are. And that comes back to right now, like, the best recruiting doesn't win. I mean, like, think about the coaches. So I've got a few talking points. The coaches, the old school coaches that were like the Tom Izzos right now, like, of the world, or the Nick Sabans. Nick Saban pretty much left college football because he just was over this, like everything that's going on right now. Coach
I question if he could do
Calipari,
it.
like
Yeah.
He left
I think
because
that
of
they're built
what,
different.
exactly?
These coaches
Yeah.
these coaches, the greatest coaches that we know of, like the names, I don't think that they're built to do what is needed to be done today, because they build these recruiting and these sales, like going out and getting these kids based on like, we're going to turn your kids into adults. Like, right, this is, you come here, it's a family, all this stuff. Kids don't give a shit about that anymore. And like, it's very hard for that old school coaching mindset to have that shift and be like,
here's the thing. I don't think kids ever really cared about that. I think that's what fans thought kids cared about. Kids cared about, they want a chance to go to the NFL.
I disagree with that.
Kids wanted to go to the NFL.
For sure.
And how they went to the NFL and how Nick Saban got them to go was like, you walk them like through their facility. Here's all of our national champion trophies. Here's the offer. You're going to take it. Like, it was as simple as that. And it made more sense in the mind of someone like when you see the amount of players, this is pre-NIL, that Alabama used to put into the NFL more than anybody else. Alabama, Ohio State, like name the top 5 programs. Kids would go there because even if you're too deep at quarterback behind the next, or wide receiver in a position, you're still at the right program where you're gonna have eyes on you. You're working with the best coaches. Like, that was seen as, okay, this is my best ticket to go somewhere, as opposed to playing for like a second tier school. That's the thing. It's changed now, but that's and I know this is what you want to get into, that like the difference, recruiting in those days was all about salesmanship. And I guess I should say recruiting there's 2 aspects to college, and this is my non-professional opinion, but you have to evaluate talent and you have to convince them to come to your school, right? Mm-hmm. In those days, when you were one of those top tier schools, you just had to convince them to come, because like evaluating talent, if you've got the 3 best quarterbacks, like if the first one washes out, who cares? The next 2 behind him on the bench are better than any other team's going to have anyway. But that's what's different now, is that no one has that. So like, you actually have to be able to evaluate talent. But I think that's the thing that, like, the reason why the guys who are still stuck in the old school mindset is just selling people doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. But it also comes down to, so if you take a look at like NIL, I think it's or NIL and then the rev share. The rev share, I think each school, I don't know like the tiers of schools, but you get $20.5 million per athletic program. Yeah, 20.5 million per athletic program. And I just looked Ohio State's up. 75% of that 20.5 went to football, 15% went to basketball, and 10% went to the other programs in the athletic department, right? So naturally, the big money makers for that school are going to get the most. Football just happens to be that across the board because it's the U.S., right? So you take that, you can pay the teams will pay the players, but outside of that, I think the story that is hilarious is the Larry Ellison, Blair Underwood story. Yeah. Underwood is the current quarterback at Michigan, had committed to, I think LSU. I think LSU is where he originally committed to. And Dave Portnoy, who is the founder of Barstool Sports, if people don't know, is a Michigan alum. Larry Ellison could probably have given 2 shits about Michigan for the most part, except for the fact that his girlfriend is a big diehard Michigan football fan. So she reached out to, in like a DM or something, to Dave Portnoy. And Dave Portnoy was like, okay, let's jump on a call with Larry. They literally had a phone conversation to figure out how much money they were going to pay Bryce Underwood. Did I say Blair Underwood, the actor?
You did.
Bryce Underwood.
You might have.
What the hell? Yeah. Hopefully somebody didn't stop listening and it got to that point. Yeah. But basically, how much are we going to pay Bryce Underwood to flip and come to Michigan and commit to Michigan? They got on a call with Underwood and they flipped him. And the guy is making so much money right now at Michigan. He had a fine year last year. Who knows if it's going to pay off? But like, if you're a donor and like if you're Portnoy, who probably put a $5 million into it, and Ellison, who whatever, like if that guy does not perform, like I don't know the rules here. Do they still have to continue to pay him every year? Like what's that's kind of
I'm
where
sure it's based on a
fuzzy. I mean,
contract though.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know what I don't know what that contract, for example, looks like. And you got other players like Nico. I can't even pronounce his last name, like Imalialova or whatever. He's been to a few schools, but he turned down the bag from a big amount of money from Tennessee, and thought that he could get more money elsewhere, and he's not getting more money elsewhere. I think where did he transfer? He transferred somewhere out west. and he's not getting as much money as he would have got because he had a shit year and he had injuries and all that stuff. So there's the opposite side of that too, where you get players that start to become really greedy and not know what they're what they're actually worth, where
UCLA
they're missing out on opportunity. Yeah, so, UCLA, that's right.
And so this thing. There's a bunch of examples of guys who are bust that got paid a bunch of money and then like it blew up the school's budget. And whether it's the rev share budget or the NIL budget, like no one's budget's unlimited. You know, like how many Portnoy, like he's not going to do that twice. You know what I mean? If the guy can't perform, to your point. But this is where kind of the evaluation side of recruiting comes down. And I think it's never been. This is the schools that are performing best, because it's like Indiana's the prime example. Like going from like the worst or second worst program in NCAA history to all of a sudden being a national champion. They had to, like, it's not just throwing money at people. Everyone can throw money at people. You have to throw money at the right people. And I think that, like, sports fans, like, you'll look at, like, the rating systems on, like, Rivals or On 3 or all these kind of things, and you think, like, that's, like, gospel. But, like, actual college recruiters don't give a shit about that. Like, those are media companies who are just, like, selling stuff. So they're like, oh, God, the best player in Texas this year, he's a 5-star. They're not actually responsible if like there's bust. Whereas if you're actually like working at a program and you recruit somebody who isn't good repeatedly, like it's going to make your team suffer, but also like you and your head coach are going to be out of a job. So the assessment side, the evaluation side is more critical than ever. And I think to what we were saying before, a lot of the biggest programs that could just sell because they could always stack recruits deep, you know, there's a lot of people out there that just aren't good at it. A lot of programs out there that aren't good at it, and throwing money at people without being able to do their own assessments on things. And that's why I love this system, because it rewards the teams, just like in pro sports, that are run better, that like have better the nerdier people who can actually like do their own assessments, figure out how to allocate capital, how to do it effectively. So to your question, John, I think it's not. It benefits the places that are better run and smarter. Than it's not just everybody can be good now. You know what I mean? You have to actually know what you're doing more now than you could before. So,
and what Jared brought up was interesting too, because like if you get 20.5 million, there's like a percentage breakdown that you allocate to specific programs like basketball, you know, lacrosse or whatever. There's some schools that are just going to pour all that into one sport. And then they're just going to be, I would assume, a market dominator or a game dominator in that if they actually get all the best talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the rules are there, if that's even allowed. Like, I feel like there's some type of Title 19 rule or something that, like, you can't dump all of this money into one sport. But it would seem almost like, it would seem pretty shitty if you've got all this money and you just.
What do you say? There's like schools that their football program sucks, but they're all basketball, right? And like I would assume, like you know, just they're going to do more of, if they're smart, they're going to do more of what works.
Well, basketball's outside my wheelhouse, and I wasn't really aware of. I don't watch a ton, but you guys following Illinois basketball this year? What they did?
So
yeah,
their entire team is a bunch of former professional Eastern.
Oh yeah. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
So I had to look, because I heard people talk about. So if you're not familiar,
bunch of Dolph Lundgren bouncing the ball.
Yeah, Illinois is in the Final Four this year. We're recording this the weekend of the Final Four. I don't know who's going to win. You're going to hear this kind of well after, but the fact that they were able to, it's their first time in the Final Four in 20 years. And basically they've got, I think, 3 guys from like Croatia, Montenegro. They found that there's this one league, and you can't just, there are some NCAA rules around this still. You can't just get like older men who've been playing basketball forever. It still has to be at a level where what they may have made professionally was lower than what the average rev share or something like that, right? So it's not, but they found this league where they're guys who are really good. They're playing, you know, kind of lower tier basketball, but they're fucking better than most people, right? So they made a whole pipeline out of it, and all of a sudden they turned things around. Their whole team's kind of just running by, you know, a bunch of professional athletes. So
I'm going to lay out, here's my opinion on where we are with football and then where we are with basketball with this. And this is maybe wrong, but this is where my head's at on it. So okay. Football, you're going to the days, I believe, of the core programs in football, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, like those core schools that are at Georgia, they're always at the top, always in the playoff, always contending for the national championship. I think that those days are done. Like, James, it's exactly because of what Indiana did. It's these players that are 4 and 5 star recruits out of high school that go to these big programs that aren't playing. They're going to immediately enter the transfer portal, and they're going to go to schools like Indiana, like these kind of tier 2 schools that they're immediately going to get playing time. The talent didn't change. There was more experience above it. So it's going to even the playing field, I think, for football. Basketball is going to, I think basketball is where you're going to see a bit of a difference. Look at the tournament this year, perfect example. Like, you're not going to see as many of the Cinderella teams advancing far because you've got guys like Lindeborg on Michigan, who's arguably the best player in the tournament right now. That dude was at UAB before. Imagine him at UAB, like, and a lot of these players that transfer to these big schools, like, he can transfer. He didn't have to sit out a year. He can transfer all to these big schools. Those smaller schools are going to be the ones that are ultimately losing the talent and jumping to these schools like Michigan that can pay this guy a shit ton of money, where UAB is not going to pay that. So I think the balance of power is going to be a little bit uneven in college basketball, but college football is definitely where you're going to see it more.
I think there's another observation too, though. I've been thinking about this while we've been talking.
What's that, John? Hey, what is that, John?
I've never really watched college sports because I always looked at. I like professional sports. No, it's mainly because I want to watch the best at whatever they do. And everybody that watched college sports, their argument was always like, "Oh no, man, they're just doing it for the love of the game." So now we're talking about a bunch of fucking amateurs. You know, that's like Canadian football and maybe European basketball. Like, that's what we've done, which is the betterment of this entire program for all these people, because if they hurt their knee or whatever, you always heard the story, then their career is over, and then they got to go, work at the mechanic shop. So I think it's better in that. And I think the other observation too is this is probably the most American thing we could have ever have done. Like, absolute capitalism at its best for a bunch of kids, that are talented.
They're the ones who've been they're the ones who've been putting the work in for this $1 billion industry,
and don't they want to unionize as well
forever?
They're not kids anymore. Indiana, the average age of Indiana's football team is like, what, 24, 23 years old?
Oh, that's...
Like, they're not...
So it's like
not
Canadian
kids,
football. All right.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, too, around this that bugs the shit out of me, is that there's zero level of like, these guys are signing, they're going to these schools. As soon as the season's over, there's a massive amount of kids jumping into a transfer portal. I shouldn't have to worry as a fan whether or not a guy that I love on my team is going to jump into the transfer portal. Like, there's got to be rules around that. I hate that.
Okay, hold on. Before I get on that topic, I wanted to mention that, like, we're talking about, like, one thing I forgot to say before was what gets kids to go to schools. All they care about right now is money and playing time, which is different than, because the playing time is what gets them the NFL and the money is obviously what gets them paid. So it's just a very different thing. I thought you were going to start with this, honestly. I thought because the way we started this podcast out, you saying that this affects you. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, how does this affect you, Jared? You're just a guy sitting on a couch watching a game. How does any of this affect you?
All right. It absolutely affects me. Like, this is I love watching college sports. Like, what I don't understand. That's something that, like, is a passion of mine. My kid loves.
Is the game no longer on? Like, what?
No, the game's on, but like
you want the outcome of a win, and it sounds like when the players are moving, like it's
yes. Well, that too. But do you not have feel like in any type of sports fandom, you get attached to these players, right? And the old school way was, hey, this guy's going to be at Ohio State. I'm going to use Ohio State because that's where I went for 3 years, maybe 4, doubtfully 4. He's going to go pro, but he's going to be there for 3 years. Great. We got him for 3 years. But at the end of his freshman season, he has a great season. He could jump into the transfer portal because another school started paying him more money. There's no true commitment, I think, of these kids today because of that. Like,
you can't ask them to do that. I mean, when the game's all about the money, it's all about the money.
if you want to
But
keep
this
your
is-
player,
all I'm
you
telling
gotta,
you, this
you
is-
have to
this
pay
is what
them,
I
and
don't
you have
like.
to win. Like, I don't understand you can keep players like as long as
This
you
is-
can.
this
Like,
is-
how many players
is
has
what I
Ohio
don't
State
like.
even lost? Like, what are you even? Have they got any of your top players bounced?
I'm saying I don't like this for other schools too. I don't like it in general. That you can have a kid that a
Do
coach
you not like
works their
free
ass
agency
off
in the
and you pay-
NFL? Do you not like trades in the NFL? Like,
But there's a commitment. The players sign fucking contracts. Like, you can't just leave after 1 year into your contract. The team can say, fuck off. You're not going anywhere. You're under contract for 3 more years. Right? And then that player can sit out. Whatever. That's their prerogative. But
Well,
there's
it's a
contracts.
4-year
So
life
sign the
cycle.
So
contract.
if the kid gets injured, can the school like kick him off the program?
If I think that there's probably some legalities there where they're not going to kick them off the program. They're still going to stay on scholarship. Like, when you mean, like, is it like a career-ending injury, or is
Yeah,
what
don't
is-
you lose
what
your
is-
Don't you lose your scholarship if you get injured?
yeah,
The
well,
player-
I don't know how that works, but I'm pretty sure there's no guaranteed contracts like professional sports have. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing. I'm pretty sure like you can't sign a 7-year deal worth $90 million with $45 million up front. You know what I mean? That's
What
what
I'm
saying.
making is like there's-
NFL is not guaranteed contracts. NFL's not guaranteed contracts.
well, there's
can
some
get-
contracts
you
where
don't
it's
have to have a
guaranteed
guarantee.
money
You can
up
get
to a
some of your
point.
money guaranteed up
Guaranteed
front. Like,
money.
you can get,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you can,
get-
but it's
yeah.
not. That's the big gripe with NFL players is that it's not fully guaranteed. Their contracts aren't fully guaranteed.
I think there's a level of
I
fan entitlement here where like
There may be, maybe it is, but it's
There's-
also like you
there's a
get
level-
attached to players. Like you want the players to stay there.
What's the
like,
one that hurt the most
It takes away
when he
It
left?
takes away the.
What
Well,
was
I'm a
his name?
Cleveland sports fan, so everybody fucking leaves. It
Jared,
takes away the fun.
There's a really
of-
simple solution to this. Join their NIL collective at Ohio State. Open up your wallet. Start throwing money at the thing. That way, the players won't leave. If you're not willing to put your money where your mouth, it's like you didn't buy enough
podcast is
cloud
turning into
credits,
horse
right? you didn't buy enough cloud credits, so you got to have a 4-hour cooldown window. You could just buy the better plan, and all of a sudden you have unlimited credits. Like I don't really see. So here's the thing. I invented a new. You guys have heard the term the royal we? You know, like when a leader,
I
or
hate that
president, or
term.
king, or head of a company, you know what I mean? When they say the word
Never
we,
heard it.
they're actually meaning I. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we decided we're doing okay. You decided, but it's the royal we, right? I invented something which I call the peasant we, and that's when someone who's a sports fan refers to their team as we, as if they're part of it, when they're actually not. They're just sitting at home. So, Jared, you seem
Well,
like a
that's
peasant
because
we
you're-
guy. Like when Ohio State
Listen,
plays and you're losing, you're like,
you're
man,
a
we got to do
bitter-
something to turn this game around.
But you are the reason. Like you're just a bitter. You're not even a sports fan. You just don't like the fact that other people
I am
really
a
get
sports
into
fan.
it.
It's just that all
No,
my
you're
teams
not.
have won, so I don't care anymore.
What do you mean,
know,
my
like-
teams? Like why are they yours? Here, this is stupid.
This is so good.
I say we. I say we. Hey, guess what? We, Guardians, we have our home opener today. There's nothing wrong with that. Anybody that pushes against that just doesn't get it. Like, you just
Jared,
don't
I'm
get
fucking
sports
with you.
fandom. No, you're not.
I am fucking.
I don't
with you.
think you.
But here's the
Listen,
okay. I'm
it's-
fucking with you in
I
the
am
sense of
proud
getting
to say
getting excited for your team for the game. Cool. Like say we all you want to. You know whatever. What I'm saying is saying that your rights as a sports fan to enjoy the game should supersede that of the people actually doing the work. Like I don't want these kids to be able to leave school for something better because it makes my viewing experience worse because I just like it when they're locked into the team for like it's silly, man. It's just silly.
But I think what we're talking
fine.
about here, though, it's
when you
like
put it
culture.
that way,
Like this
when you put it
this
that
is
way,
a
it does sound a little bit different.
this is a huge part of like your world, Jared. Like I mean, like you,
It is.
Your life is family, of course, and then like work. But then the other part is like it's just sports. Like and then everything else just has to like fit in there, right?
Yeah, I love. Listen, I'll give you an example of a guy, and this is outside of college. A guy that like we love because he's part of our city. When I say our city, I mean Cleveland because I'm from Northeast Ohio. Is a guy like Jose Ramirez. If anybody doesn't know, like this dude could go make so much money playing for the Yankees or playing for a big market team that can actually pay him. And anytime this dude's contract is up, he doesn't even entertain talking to other teams. He takes far less money because he loves the city of Cleveland. He loves playing for the people of Cleveland. Like, even though we've never won anything in that city, they're going to build a statue for the guy outside the stadium. My kid has a jersey of him. He's
That's a
outgrown
sweet
him, so we're
story.
going to get him
I know
another
it really
jersey.
is. Do you know what
It's a
they
great
call
story,
him in all
Jared.
these other cities, though? Sucker!
Jared, I'm not saying I was fucking with you before, but I'm being serious when I say this. That's great. It's great that guy feels that way about the city. You could say the same thing about Mary Lemieux in Pittsburgh for the Penguins. He could have gone and he saved the team twice, whatever. A lot of stories like that, and they're great to hear.
Is he still
you
playing?
can't force that on people, though. You can't say everyone who plays for my school, like, you can never leave. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, that's.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you commit to a school, you should have to commit to the school.
For
One
the year,
and done.
like there you go. Like
But
there's
that- but
I
that's
see
the
no
problem.
reason.
That's
They
the
have
problem. Why?
Here
One
because
year?
they have
Then
a
you
lot
should
of
have
these
to
kids,
sit out. Then you should have to sit out.
A lot
If
of these
you
kids.
transfer,
Why?
then you should have to sit out a year.
A lot of these
But
kids
I
they
think
have
for
a
a rule like
4-year
that, you would
window
need
to
both
maximize
sides.
their wealth, right?
You
They
would
have a
need both
4-year
sides.
window to maximize their wealth. I'm sorry that's inconvenient for you, but if you were in their situation and all of a sudden you could go to a different school and get paid twice as much, you would fucking do it because it would set you
It's
up for the rest of
coddled,
your life.
dude. You're coddling the fuck out of them. When you say like, "Oh, you're not going to pay me. I'm going to go to this school. They're going to pay me." I think that it completely defeats the purpose of fucking.
But here's the thing: what's going to
all
happen
of
with
this.
that? I think it's gonna self-correct because I think the bouncing
I
around
agree with you. I agree
isn't
with you.
going to work out in the long term because you're going to see, like, dude, you abandon your team, and I just have a feeling that's the way it'll play out.
I also
I
put
agree.
a lot of the blame goes squarely on the teams that signed those guys in the first place. Like, if they evaluated for character better, they evaluated for where these people's interests lie. They actually made. I think that the people.
I don't disagree with that. I agree with you. There.
So like
I want to see though the long term, like 10 years from now, like the we talked about this a little bit before, where there is how do they perform at the highest level, right? Like how are the highest paid people like in this amateur college thing? Like how does that transfer to like the highest paid?
That's the crazy
you know,
part, John, is it really doesn't. Like, there's not a ton of data on this, but there's a lot of players who clearly are going to make more money in college football than they'll ever make in the pros. Like, Carson Beck might be an example of that. Like, maybe this guy will be a great pro. I don't know. But he's absolutely, like, runner-up this year. He lost in the national title game, but he's fucking made
He's also like
millions every
27 years old.
Yeah.
He's played in college football
But-
for like 7 years.
Yeah, but he's a prime example. He's a good college football player, and he's a quarterback, so people are going to want him. They've thrown money at him, but
He's
I don't
fine.
see him being like a great pro. Like he's maximized his earnings in college pretty clearly. I could be wrong because he hasn't gone pro yet, but like I think Jared, you'd agree.
I
But
think
there's a lot
I
of
think
guys
he was
like that.
above average college player.
Yeah, but John, I do think it's self-correcting to some extent, but it's self-correcting because I think that the schools that are making bad recruitment decisions and the schools that can't retain players, like it's because of their staff, like they're willful participants in not being very good at their jobs. Is the best way I can say it, and I think that like Indiana is the best example of who's doing it right. It's not like everyone can just copy them overnight, but like I think just like in baseball when Jared,
Moneyball.
you know, when the Red Sox turned things around, all of a sudden, you know what I mean, and like Theo Epstein, people started reading like these more advanced ways of evaluating things. Like there's a playbook there that then everyone copies it, then it starts, you know, kind of the edge you have is degraded. But I think that it's kind of in the infancy stage in college football that people are going to start looking at what these other schools did. Are all of them going to be able to do it? No, because there's not that many smart people in the world. But, you know, I think there is going to be some level of other schools will improve over time. And, you know, they're always going to have some level of these issues, though. Like, it's professional sports now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most remarkable thing about this. Like everything you knew of this, for the most part, has like shifted. Like these kids, and also too the distractions that come with money. Right? Like there's a whole nother world that's going to happen with that. So I don't know. I'm still not watching. We'll see what happens.
I pulled a list, and then I know we're coming up to the end, but just to get a sense for like, you've got these powerful boosters because the programs nowadays are going to be a lot of this NIL dollars is going to be dependent upon who the boosters are, right? Indiana, perfect example. Mark Cuban has dumped a shitload into that school. But I looked and I said I tried to find out like what schools, colleges, universities have the highest net worth of like wealth from their alumni. Harvard, number one.
Yeah.
It's funny because you look at these schools: Harvard, Stanford, Penn, Columbia, MIT. those
Is that just net wealth?
They could-
that's not getting put into the programs, right? That's just like pure net
Are
wealth.
those the
no,
endowments?
that's just net wealth. That's just net
yeah.
wealth. Yeah. That's net wealth of the alumni.
Okay.
Like tier 2, and those Yale, Princeton, NYU, Northwestern,
Yeah,
University of
it's not
Chicago.
surprising. Yeah.
Out of those schools, like Northwestern is the only power conference. Like if you look at like from a sports program perspective, and they're typically toward the bottom of the Big Ten in most years. So you're not seeing the priorities are very different with these schools in terms of what their alumni are spending money on. But now you look at the other schools, which are the big Power 5 conferences. Texas is number 1, University of Michigan, USC, Ohio State, Penn State. And then tier 2 is UCLA, UNC, Virginia, Florida, whatever. So these are the schools that like are always going to be at the top from a spending perspective, but all it takes is 1 or 2 wealthy alumni from a smaller tier 2 or tier 3 school to completely change that program around. And it also helps that you have a guy like Kirk Signetti that comes and slides in perfectly into a program that is that literally right at the perfect time that all this is taking shape. And that's, I think, where it is today. I just hope that they just pull it back a little bit. And there needs, I'm sorry, James, I know you disagree with me. There has to be more fucking loyalty. And by the way, it's on both sides, because coaches can sign a contract and then jump to another school and completely shit on all the kids that are left behind. I get it. I understand that, but I think
I'm glad you brought that up, because
it could ruin college.
That's the best
I think it could ruin
counterpoint
college
that
sports,
I
or it
forgot
could
to
be the
make
best
that you
thing
made for
college
me.
sports.
Like, if coaches can just fucking up and bail at any moment, like
Who's
Lane
the
Kiffin
worst
does.
college coach at doing that, in your opinion?
Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin, fucking asshole.
He just
His
bounces.
father's
out
a hell of a
money, but,
defensive coordinator, though, man. Old Monty Kiffin, God, I love him.
Yeah, I mean Lane Kiffin is just a piece of. I mean, he just Brian. I don't know. Brian Kelly doesn't come off to me like.
Didn't
a really
Urban Meyer
nice
do it as well?
Human being. Herb never did it. Herb kind of climbed the ladder, went from Bowling Green to Utah to Florida to Ohio State.
His Florida exit was a little suspicious. But,
Yeah, it was a little weird. That's what I thought. Yeah.
He left for what, health reasons, I think.
Health.
But John,
there's
like, I'm
there's
interested to
conspiracy
see.
theories on that or whatever.
John, I'm interested to see what you went to Central Florida or South Florida?
South Florida. You stay
just got
forever.
you just got arguably one of the best college football recruiters of all time as your head coach. Like Brian Hartline. I
This
want
could
to see
change
what
me.
he does
If we
with
start
that
winning,
program.
man, like, yeah, that would be great. I will
I
be
want
a
to see
fair
what he
weather
does with
fan.
that program.
John,
that
how
guy
much money are you going to
single-handedly
give?
built.
How much are you
Yeah,
going to give
John,
more
very
money
good.
than Jared to your school?
I got
to-
so many
to
parking
buy
tickets
players?
at that school, and I mean, I had to pay, out-of-state tuition for a couple classes I failed. They got enough of my money.
Gas station peptide money, baby. Let's go.
All right, that's a wrap for episode 33 of the Business is Bullshit podcast. Catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, John Saronkis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.